What's going on, everybody? Good to see you here for the retry for the live that was supposed to be yesterday. It was definitely StreamYard's issue. I checked the recording of me, which is done on the internet, so it could have been an internet issue, but it was only doing it with anything related to StreamYard. And so when I found that it was on my recording, not anything on your guys' side of things, then I'm pretty sure that's what was the deal. So I don't know if there's just a lot of traffic on it. I don't follow when others do lives. I try to stay away from them, which is one reason I do mine in the afternoons. But hey, Hitman's here. Excellent. Hitman 23. Phil Biggs. Oh yeah. Of course, Donna Lembo. Karis with Voice of Astrology. Let's see. Dotson. Have to excuse my poor German pronunciations. I think I got everybody. Very cool. Excellent. Well, good to see everyone again. But no, this, I think it was just a StreamYard issue, so apologies. But what sucks is like StreamYard's the only game in town for the creators, as far as I know. I've heard of others, but I don't know any that are that lined up where for YouTube it just like goes hand in hand. When you set something up in StreamYard, they communicate that to YouTube. So it's all like already there. Like when I go back to YouTube to make sure everything's right, it's already there waiting for you. So it's just like instant. And I do like that. I hate to have to go back and do something later because it takes time to upload or whatever, but it doesn't. So it's really handy. But of course, they, jack their rates up, as more people were getting into it. So they're making a lot of money, which is fine. And they've been improving things. So it's cool. But it just sucks because it's not cheap. It's like almost $50 a month. And I don't even have the upper one. The upper one's like $70 or $80 a month, but you can do more stuff with it. You can get the better quality. See, right now it doesn't matter what kind of camera I use because you're only going to get it at 1080, and that's as much as it's going to go with the package that I have on StreamYard. But if you upgrade to the most expensive one, you can get the nicer quality, which is obviously more apt to get people watching it if it looks better, So, but so here's somebody. I'll get the info here. I'll throw it up on the screen. I'll get the information from Outcast for you, Pete. He made the switch. Yeah, there's a couple of them I've heard of as I've been doing this, but I don't remember the names. But I do like the convenience of it. So that's part of my decision on top of the cost too, obviously. So yeah, get me the info. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Very cool. Let's see. Okay, Foxy Rose says but I am not Foxy Rose. I am Melissa. So all right. You guys are hopefully doing that civilly and not fighting in the streets. But we don't have to worry about anybody fighting in the streets. We got Donna Lembo with us, the moderator in chief, the captain of the Mayhem Squad. So she's ready for the beatdown if necessary. But we don't really have problems, and that's fine. I don't want any problems like that. So, but I don't know if anybody noticed here. I got a new thing in the mail yesterday. How about that? The Destiny travel mug. I mean, nothing says Christmas, guys, like showing up somewhere with this, right? Because somebody's going to ask you, what is that? What is Deathany? And then you have to explain it to them. You could just paraphrase that and however you think that needs to be paraphrased, but I don't know how much better I could have made it, obvious what was going on. But yeah, I got it yesterday, so it's nice. Really, really love the quality of these. These are amazing. I'm so glad they're still there. You just have to go to the mug. If you want one, you go to the mug, and then there's a toggle switch to go to these. So they're there. You gotta dig one step further to get them. But they still got that sale going on this weekend. I grabbed a couple things. So yeah, I mean the sales are amazing because you can save so much money. 35% off site wide. It doesn't matter what it is or whose it is. It's all the same. So that's great. All right. Well, I had a little bit of time this morning to come up with a few things to discuss. I know this is a an open true crime discussion, so I definitely welcome your comments and would much rather talk about what you want to talk about over these points I've come up with. But I thought it always helps kind of to throw something in to get things started, kind of grease the wheel a bit, and then get everybody jumping in and discussing. So, like I said, if you have any ideas, love to hear them. Any case you want to talk about, current, past, I don't care. You want to talk about 16th century Hungary, I'm down. I'm down with that. Countess Bathory, I can talk about her. I could talk about Son of Sam. I could talk about Gacy, Bundy, whatever you want to talk about. The most obscure prison riots. I mean, we've done all kinds of it because we're Murder Metal Mayhem and we just get nasty and we don't care. We just cover it. So that's on the podcast side. Here on YouTube, we have to be a little bit differently portraying things and not doing quite what we would like to do, but because they restrict us, as you guys are well aware. And I try my damnedest to avoid saying those stupid words that people say in lieu of, the words that they don't want us to say. I just try to write around it, but it's difficult, believe me. Very difficult because on the podcast we just let it fly. So if you're interested in that, a little darker, a little more rough language and stuff, you can check out the podcast. There's like 280 something episodes with three of us doing that. So I'm not by myself there. So all right. Well, let's see. What do I got? I saw somebody said smash the like button. Appreciate that. Share it. Subscribe is a big one, of course. I passed 15,000 like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but then I wasn't putting out as much content. I've been mentioning I've been writing my book. So my subscribers were slipping just under the 15,000. So it was like seesaw back and forth on whether I was at or below 15. And I checked it here before we started. It was like 15,011. So I'm hoping to get that number up there more so that seesaw thing isn't going on because we need to be moving ahead, not backwards, right? So, and I know that's partly my fault for not putting out the content, but like I said, I've been really busy working on the book, which is the story of what's happened to me medically here in the last 18 months with the necrotizing fasciitis and then the two amputations on the same leg. Um, in definitely not expected type situation. So it was very, very crazy. And so the story is being told. And I'm about 80%, 85% done with the rough draft. It's coming along really well. So I've got a lot of people that have been asking me about that and how I've been doing and all that, and I'm fine. I'm in a wheelchair now, but I get my prosthetic leg this week on Friday. Is on Halloween. How about that? I get to put my leg in they call it the socket, which is what the leg connects to the prosthetic. So that's going to be fitted and everything. Now I'm hoping that they put the whole leg on just to kind of see it and maybe get to stand on it, just for a picture or two. My wife's going to be there taking some pictures for the book, and that'll be very exciting though at the VA. Working with a guy named Nick, just a super guy, knows his shit. And the VA is the best, unfortunately, but they are the best. My civilian surgeon, told me that. He said that when he saw that I was VA, he was glad that that's how I decided to go with the prosthetic instead of have the civilians do it. So, and the VA really didn't want me to do that either. They were, made it seem almost silly to not go with them because of how much better they are at it. So I'm all about it. I'm all about that. So yeah. So I'll give you guys some pictures once I'm attempting to walk, and they say it takes 2 to 3 months to learn how to do it. So we'll see, and I'll take the time that I need to take. And I've got a surgery coming up on November 7th, which will take me out of the loop for a couple days. I may be able to still do a live though, which would actually be cool to do the live from my hospital bed, but I would be totally down with it. I did a live with AR and Lucky the day I got amputated, so I could pretty much do anything there. They put enough pain meds in that IV bag. I could orchestrate an orchestra with all that. So as you've heard, if you've listened to the stories I've been posting, that music in the background is all from me, and it's amazing what you can do with a computer nowadays. But it's been awesome to be able to create my own music as needed with a little bit of assistance. But all my ideas, all my lyrics, all that kind of stuff is all me. So yeah, that's what's going on. And so just a little heads up on what's coming down the pike. But I've got a couple of videos I want to do on Idaho 4. I did one the other day that did pretty decent. So thanks for those that watched it. But it was one that I did about the it had to do with was it the DNA? It had to do with Dylan and Bethany, and offhand I can't think of what the exact subject was regarding them, but um, I got some good responses from that, and like I said, Bethany is now kind of a thing here, and so you get the merch, you can tie it in with that, and check out that episode if you missed it. But so yeah, that's let's see here. Da, da, da. So the short stories I put out, The Bells of San Pedro, which is a zombie story. So if you like those kind of stories, it's a lot more than a zombie story, but it gets crazy. And then A Red Mist Upon New Orleans. That's the vampire story I did. It's the only vampire story that I've ever done, and I really like the way it turned out. I'll probably do more now. That I really like that one. Um, and then Carnival of Atonement, that's the one that's getting ready to come out. And that's one of my favorites. It's from the first Creation of Chaos book I put out. But I redid it in Creation of Chaos 3 and changed the ending a little bit. And it's for lack of a better box to put it in, I would put it under cults, like, killer cults type thing. And then Roots of All Evil is the last one. It's my dad's favorite, so that's why I'm doing it for him. But that one is kind of a legend story, which I love those where I create a legend and, in an area of the country and really dig into what's the town like. And I put the work in and I think it pays, but you'll see Roots of All Evil. That's the last one. That'll be on Halloween, is the plan, or maybe the night before. It's a good one. All right. But yeah, that's what's I've been not distracted, but I've been busy doing some other things. So, in case you wondered, let's see. So, here's what I've got for today. Now, we talked about this briefly last week, the Black Dahlia. I know that Karis had brought it up, and, you know, it got me interested because I've always found that case fascinating. And Karis talked about a new book that's come out. Now, my sister um, read that book because she had texted me about it, I think Friday. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then this comes, and then, watch something on YouTube about it that was a few years ago. So it's not a recent thing, but, just to touch base on this case and everything. So I don't know if anybody wants to talk about the Black Dahlia at all before we move past it. I just wanted to make sure that I got, all of it out there before I moved on, because it was a great suggestion because it's such a good cold case. And I'm curious, Karis, if you could tell us in the chat here what was there, in the book, if you've actually read it all. You don't have to tell us, give it away if you don't want to, but do they come up with a legitimate name that's not the name that they've always talked about, which is that doctor that was there, the creepy dude taking pictures and all this weird stuff? If it's somebody other than that guy, because that guy is the one that it seems to be the obvious choice, just because he was always around and he was a really weird dude. So, but yeah, but here, Melissa, it's right. Yeah, it's Melissa. It's not Foxy Rose, even though it says Foxy Rose. Melissa, I don't know why, but the Black Dahlia reminds me of Jack the Ripper. Yeah, I get that. It's old school, right? Everything's black and white. So you think, like, in my mind at least, like black and white is like just a period. Like everything was black and white up until then, or up after that. But yeah, it's got that old school feel, and similar to the Ripper with the open sidewalk that he put her on, or that little plot of land there right off that sidewalk. So yeah, let's see. I'm looking here. Let's see. Somebody said I was in ICU during your time there too. Moderna destroyed me, and I can appreciate the fact that you brought back that being brought back and surviving. What doctors can't grasp does change our outlook. And do you? Not exactly sure what, if you're asking me something, it may be just off on a word there, Sandra. But that's cool that you were there with me. I'm sorry that you had to go through something to put you in ICU, because yeah, that sucks. That sucks. All right, let's see. Just looking here in the chat here, guys. Good to see everybody bouncing around ideas. And here, Sandra also posted Black Dahlia is a gruesome and cruel, but also a crime of passion. Yeah, I mean, definitely. cutting a woman in half. I mean, and perfectly done like a surgeon would do it in like a operating room, uh, completely in half, sideways, right? And had the parts posed. I mean, that's just wow. That's like next level messed up. That's like next level messed up. All right, here's Karis throwing in. Yes, the Dahlia and another girl in another state had the same horseshoe shape carved out of both of their legs. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that book out. Because as I've been saying, I'm really interested in it as well. That's really cool. All right, yeah, I'll check it out. Maybe we'll do like a thing on the Black Dahlia. That would be cool. Any of you guys ever want to do a video with me? You let me know. You got a good topic, I'll be down with doing a video with you. I've done them before like that. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. All right. Let's see here. Guys, 1122 King Road has become the best new haunted house in America. You know it. Well, it's gone. So unless you're talking about like replicas of it, I'm not familiar with that. Not familiar with that. Okay, so here's what I would like to bring up on this first one here with you guys. If you've heard about this dude, I mean, you want to talk about wanting to just straight up slap somebody 100 times. This dude needs to be slapped and more. But Jesse Butler, this punk, Stillwater, Oklahoma. You want to talk about if you were into the Murdoch case? I was obsessed with that case. You got, the money, the power, the sex part of it, the murder, everything wrapped up into just one like really good story, right? This is shaping up, I would think, to be very similar to that. I'm thinking about doing a video on it tomorrow morning, but he was a baseball star. Not sure what position. He looks a little chunky in that picture. He was a pitcher. All right, my wife is saying he was a pitcher. And you know what? I mean, doing the stuff he was doing, attacks brutally two different girls. Both of them were 16. He was 17 when this happened. And two separate occasions, two different women, multiple times with each one, like brutal essay. I mean, brutal stuff. There was one girl in the hospital, they showed pictures of it and video. She has a mark on her neck, like a bruise, but it looks almost like a burn from how she was, choked. And it had to be searched. They had to do something surgically to fix it. So, I mean, it was nasty stuff. And this guy gets charged with it. And then the question of sentencing comes up. So it's, does he get sentenced as an adult or sentenced, as a minor because it happened when he was 17, but the prosecution wanted to charge him as an adult because, he did something that heinous. He deserves it. But for some reason, all of a sudden in the 11th hour, there's a plea bargain and he's given the option of taking this plea deal, which would then switch it to youthful offender. So he wouldn't have to go to prison. He was facing almost 80 years in prison. And he would get this deal, no prison, no jail, nothing like that. 150 hours of community service. He had to do like a daily call in. He couldn't use social media while this is going on. And You want to talk about the most ridiculous nonsense.
And it all goes away when he turns 19.
And when he turns 19 here in a few months, it all goes away, completely expunged. So those families have just got to be going through hell. I mean, dealing with something like that. But have you guys heard of this case? The Murdoch case I thought was really interesting, but I don't know how many of you guys were fans of that one or followed it. When I say I'm a fan of something, it's not like I think it was a good thing that it happened. I think it was a good thing that that piece of shit is in jail or in prison for what he did. It was obvious that he did it. I mean, come on. His son's Snapchat is what did him in. That was the most. You couldn't have written that ending any better. I mean, I couldn't even think of a better ending if I was writing it than something like that. It was just so cool the way that went down. So he got him. He got him. But okay. So yeah, I think that case has some legs because there's a lot of people outraged about this fool. I mean, seriously. I mean, that is just the most heinous thing, to ruin two girls' lives for the rest of their life. They'll be dealing with that. And this piece of crap, smiling in the picture. I got to show you the picture. I had it ready for you so I could share this with you. So let me find it. Here we go. There he is. Look at that look on his face. I mean, like I said, doesn't that just make you want to just smack him right in the face? 11 charges against Jesse Butler, including the R word, domestic assault, SA, and strangulation. Seriously. This kid, I mean, come on now. High school baseball star, 78-year prison sentence, wiped. Just unbelievable. And it says the outrage from the victims' families after convicted S offender dodges 78-year prison sentence. I mean, holy crap, I couldn't imagine it. So I don't know how good. I mean, it says he's a pitching star, so who knows? But it's it's ridiculous. And his parents are supposed to have some money. Very, very Murdoch like situation here with everybody's all knows everybody. It's in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Apparently, pretty rural area.
College town.
It is a college town. That's right. The University of Missouri is there. Oklahoma. I'm sorry. Yeah, Oklahoma. And so it's got that element to it. But yeah, this kid is just comes from privilege, and that's just not good when that happens, when it's obvious something is going wrong here, because that judge, a female judge, a female prosecutor, and a female judge, and that was the outcome. I mean, that's just, I don't know, unless they were trying to not show that they were favoring that side of things. But I mean, it's, to me, it's so blatantly obvious that he should have got charged as an adult, 78 years, see you later, buddy. uh, make him eligible for parole after 20 or 30 years at least, given his age. But other than that, no, I would put this fool away for life. So I don't understand it. I really don't. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you. So, but anything else you guys want to discuss? Like I said, just fire away. If not, I'll just keep talking about stuff here that I've got outlined to go over with you. I don't ever do these more than 90 minutes. So if you're watching and you're not sure, like, I can't really listen to this bald guy, for any bit anymore. how much more do I have to endure? Well, it's 90 minutes total. So it's 30 minutes now. We've just got an hour. So I used to do training classes for people that worked with hazardous materials. And a lot of my classes in the last few years I worked were on Zoom because of the pandemic. So doing these is nothing that I haven't done for 30 years. And we used to teach for 8 hour days. So it makes for a long day to talk all day long. And this is so much more fun to talk about, you know. But I always told those guys some funny stories and everything. But I did the sled story, I think, a few weeks ago. I'll have to think of some funny ones. I got to remember too. My mom is she comes into the chat, so I'm gonna have to watch which stories I bust out with my mom in there. But anyway, so yeah, I think that Jesse Butler case is going to be a big one when it goes to well, he's already been through trial and everything, so the only thing they could do at this point is to try to force the prosecutor to agree to try him as an adult. So they're hoping, this gets people fired up. It's unfortunate it's already over with because that would have been an interesting trial, I'm sure. Um, but then, of course, he takes the plea, so they didn't really do a trial. So kind of like an Idaho 4 type situation. But uh, but yeah, I just feel sorry for those two victims. Just awful. All right, the other one I thought was interesting. This is one I typically would not really give a whole crap about, but this NBA betting scandal. Whoa! I mean, I've been keeping an eye on the NFL referee stuff that I've been reading about. Um, oh, I see somebody here put out. They just released a Murdoch movie. I heard about that. I want to watch that for sure. I definitely want to watch that. But what was I saying here? Oh, the NBA. Yeah, so these guys, sports betting is just so huge right now. And like I watch, a fair amount. I mean, I watch baseball. I don't watch football anymore because they got me mad when they started taking a knee on the field. I mean, when they started doing that, I hit the off button and I haven't watched anything. I haven't bought anything. I gave away pretty much all my NFL stuff. I used to be a Steelers fan, but I gave pretty much most of it away. I've got some like autograph stuff, like I got some Mean Joe Green stuff. He was my favorite. Jack Lambert, those old school guys. I've got some cool stuff, some collectibles with them, and Bill Cower, and a lot of autographs. I used to do a lot of that with my son. So, but yeah, just got sick of it. I didn't want to have those guys doing that. It just bad taste. So baseball is really all I watch, but even then, it's just inundated with these ads for these sports book, this and that, and so I don't know, but I don't know if you guys have heard of this before. It's just a few days old, but they're talking about like players, like multiple players that were involved in this mafia run poker game, which is just like, what in the hell? When you got that kind of money, why in the world would you be involved in that kind of stuff? Other than wanting to feel cool and feel like you fit in with everybody, why would you want to expose yourself to that? And I mean, look at my name. It ends in a vowel. So, I'm Italian and I still think, hell no. I wouldn't want to be hanging out with those guys. Like, I don't need that in my life. It's too much drama. So it's, all that money that they have, as Donna says, all that money they got, right, Donna? And they're just playing the fool. And I think a lot of it's image. And so that had something to do with, I don't know all the nuts and bolts of this because this just was like breaking as I was reading other stories, which is like kind of wild all at once. But there's a coach, the coach of the Portland team. He's involved, apparently, allegedly, in this. And yeah, everything is alleged, right? Because yeah, nobody's been found guilty or anything. This just broke, but the FBI busted him. So this is not like local cops or like the NBA or anything like that. This is the FBI coming in and busting up this game that involved all the sports betting and stuff. And then you've got other people in the food chain, I'm sure, that are going down, and it's gonna be ugly. I mean, something like that could potentially have grow quite a few legs and turn into other sub stories as this thing goes. Because boy, if other players are involved, I mean, see what they did with Pete Rose. Agree with that or not? I don't agree with what they did to Pete Rose. I mean, I think he should have been given an end date, a reasonable end date, 20 years or something like that. All right, but not a lifetime ban. The guy was an unbelievable ball player. And the betting he did was like an old school, like a few bucks on one of those cards you scratch off the options. So this is not anything like what we're talking about here. This is a complete other situation, but because they could be looking at games that they threw to get under on points, to all of a sudden one of them, I think one of them was involved a calf injury that they believe he faked to get out of playing a game so that the people betting on how many points he would score would do better if he had under than over a certain amount. And that's messed up. You got people that bet a lot of money. I'm not saying that's a good thing either, but to each their own. But if you're going to be betting big money, I mean, man, you want to be sure that you're getting treated right. I mean, that's bullshit, if you've got people doing that kind of stuff. So my my dad was telling me that one of his uncles through marriage had told him, and he was knew some people in organized crime, and he said in like the 60s, he said the NFL was completely rigged. That all of it was, they were all dirty, all on the inside of it, and the betting thing and all of it from the beginning. Like that's what he said to this dude. Now, again, who knows, right? That's hearsay, but still, it makes you wonder, because the Kansas City Chief thing. I mean, again, I'm not following it, but what I did see is they had a game where they played and had no penalties, none. I've never even heard of that before. I mean, maybe it's happened, but my God, are you kidding me? As many flags as they throw in a game, there's a team that's got no flags in an entire game. I find that very hard to believe. And there's all kinds of stuff. They show like legitimate numbers of how many times Mahomes gets hit at a certain point of a scramble and how many more yards the other team gets penalized for roughing the passer. So they really protect them with the roughing the passer, penalties. So these guys can't hit him, and that's not right. I mean, if the other guy's getting walloped, why shouldn't he? So and I'm not, I don't want to get into it with Kansas City fans because if you're a fan of them, that's cool. But, I know the Steelers were talking about some nonsense. The Lions, I know, were throwing a fit about something that happened in that game where the whole team of umpires and referees from that game were like put on hold, like you're not doing any more games until we figure this thing out, because it was all kinds of weird discrepancies and things they were doing that weren't right. So that's just not good. That's just not good. Yeah, I mean here Karis is saying she's a sports fanatic. I mean, like I said, I was at one time like really crazy with I played fantasy football and baseball and I watched all the football games, like all of them, as many as I could, so that I could learn for my fantasy teams. And then baseball, I watch all the Yankee games, or as many as I could. And yeah, so I would say I agree with you there. I'm a sports nut, but it's a shame that football kind of did that because I really loved it. I really really enjoyed it. But I'm thinking about going back to fantasy baseball this next year. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but I'm retired, and so I think it would be fun to do it again. So I'm going to see. My old league used to meet in a physical location for one time for the draft, and then the rest of it was all done electronically. But I haven't been with those guys for years, so I'm not even sure if they still do it. But I could find out. I know you can do them online too. I mean, there's a million ways I could do it. But it would be fun to be in a league of people that at least some of the people. And so these guys were a lot of fun when I went over there. Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Vegas really really does rule the roost. I mean, here Foxy Rose is saying if you want to win on the NFL, just follow that Vegas, makes money, then you're going to win. So yeah, exactly. Sorry, Melissa. Sorry, Melissa. All right. She's saying she's a Philly fan. So, there's some rivalry there, but I'm not from Pennsylvania. It's kind of a funny story how I became a Steeler fan at all. So I'm from Connecticut, New York area. My dad, growing up, of course, a big New York Giants fan, football, baseball, Yankees, but huge Giants fan. Well, one day I must have been, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10, somewhere like that. And I did something stupid. So I got trouble. I got grounded for the day. And I was pissed. And so my dad was watching football and I didn't really want to watch. I was just mad and pouting, being a 9-year old. And he had a couple bucks betting on this game. And it was I can't remember who the team was that were the Steelers. Oh, I think it was the Vikings. It was the Vikings and the Steelers, and so it was a good game. And so he had money on the Vikings to win. So I was rooting for the Steelers just to get him mad, and he was getting really pissed off about it. It was pretty funny. And so after the Steelers won and went on to the playoffs after that, if I remember correctly, for like the first time in the team's history. So like my timing was perfect, to become a Steelers fan. And so they were so dominating through that 70s, So what a time to like the team, right? And I just always have stuck with me. So like when my dad would ask me, so how's your Steelers doing this year? I can't believe you still like them. And so it was funny, but yeah, that's why I became a Steelers fan, not for any other reason than just to get back at my dad for grounding me for the day. But But yeah, so that's cool. I think sports is fun because you get people that like your friends that are for the other team. You can give each other crap, and we used to mess with the neighbor we had really bad. That was a Boston Red Sox fan, and we lived in a condominium, and this guy was like two doors down. And my dad and I used to mess with him hardcore, like putting signs in his yard telling him Boston sucks and putting Boston sucks stuff all over his car and everything. And he would never come over and like say anything because he knew we would just like obliterate him. So one time they lost and just do different things. But my dad had this found, I don't know where he found it, was this like cheap Boston like a batting helmet, but it wasn't a real one. It was like a cheap one. And he nailed it to this tree in this guy's backyard and was shooting arrow. My dad was a big archer, or is a big archer, shooting arrows into this batting helmet, all these arrows and everything. Freaked the guy out. I think he stayed inside after that, but yeah, we used to do just really crazy stuff like that. My dad and I, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, the first Yankee game I ever went to, somebody died getting thrown off the third level bleacher because he had a Boston shirt on in Yankee Stadium, so that was not good. They threw him off the bleachers, so that's awful. But that was my anointment into being a Yankees fan, so it was kind of in my blood. Plus, my grandpa worked for the painting company that, well, he was a union foreman, but they got the contract many years to refurbish Yankee Stadium in the 50s and did a ton of painting there. So, so yeah, he worked there for a long time. Wow. I'm just looking at some of these comments here. Foxy's got some really, or Melissa has got some very long uh, bits of text here for me. So, taking me a second. But yeah, I thought you guys would like that story about me and my dad. Those are the kind of stories I would tell in my class to keep people from falling asleep talking about government regulations and stuff. So I'd break out a story or two. I've got so many of them. We could be here all day and night. I know you don't want to sit here and listen to me talk about that all day and night. I'm just saying. Another one that's a good story is the Louvre over there in Paris, the fancy museum where they keep all the priceless artifacts and everything. Um, they had a robbery, a huge robbery there. And oh, here's a comment here from somebody. Oh, there, Voice of Astrology. Went to the original Yankee Stadium, a memory. I've been there many times. And I've been to the new stadium once. I took my granddaughter there. We went with a friend of mine to the game there. It was great. I'm glad I got to bring little Alex with me for that one. Um, so yeah, the Louvre. They these guys came in. This is like the most brazen thing I've ever seen. Middle of the day. I mean, it was like 9:20 in the morning or something like that. These guys come rolling in with like a man lift with a bucket on it, and they just wheel this thing up to the side of this museum, and it goes up to this like balcony, and they get out and they use an angle grinder to grind out the windows so they can bust through these doors. And they're in the museum in like moments. I mean, it was like nothing to get through this thing with an angle grinder. So they're in there, and they go exactly, they know exactly where they're going. They're looking for the Napoleonic era stuff, I believe is what they were saying, and these like crowns and this fancy like jewelry, that they would wear at that time. I mean, like priceless stuff. I mean, some of these crowns they were showing had thousands of diamonds like that made the crown. I mean, that's like insane. So these were, beautiful things, and very, very, old and historic and all of that. And so these guys came in there and just boom, 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 boom. They did a number on the place, busted through the glass and everything, and they were out of there in 7 minutes. So they might have gone to the Brian Koberger school of committing a crime within the allotted time, because Koberger. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I'm going to have some people turning me off, going, "This guy's out of his mind." Just fooling with you. Uh, so uh, so yeah, that's nuts. 7 minutes. They're jumping out into the bucket, get it down lowered, and then they jumped on some. Uh, they were like motorbikes. That's what they said. So I don't know if they were like ninjas or if they were like little mom and pop dirt bike type thing. But nonetheless, they got the hell out of there quick. They're still on the lam. They're still out there. So if you're on eBay and somebody wants like $15 million for a crown or something, that could be the guy. You might want to turn him in. But I see here somebody said one guy left DNA behind in a scooter helmet. Nice. There you go. There you go. So yeah, that's an interesting one, um, about that case. I hadn't heard that. So good for them. Yeah, I mean, there had to be something left behind. I know it was only 7 minutes, but still, I know males are DNA shredders or shedders that they call it. I interviewed a police officer and he told me about that. Males shed DNA much faster than women. So you talk about the whole shred of DNA on the knife sheath in the Idaho case. There's all kinds of science behind how that could have ended up there and not have anything to do with him ever being in that house. Because if they really did have the goods on him on that DNA, then why does the prosecutor say they don't have any evidence of him ever being in that house? So if they had the DNA that was his on the knife sheath, then they would have evidence of him being in the house, according to them. So it's odd that they don't even recognize it themselves. I think it's the the what do they call that? The you know thoughts in the background, kind of creeping in, um, maybe making him doubt himself. I don't know, but I heard that and I wondered how do you reconcile that? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All right, let's see. So yeah, I think that this Koberger case is going to just go on and go on. I have a few things about it, so let's see. We'll get some people in the chat talking about it. Let's do it. It's on my list. Next on my list, so that you guys are good. Um, some issues surrounding Xana's wounds being done by a left-handed person. Now, I'll admit, I did not see or hear anything about that other than what I just mentioned. So I'm curious if you guys are more aware of what, like, is that like from the autopsy report or is that from, what is that from? Because I know there was the thing I watched on Jules' channel where she talked about all the extensive injuries for each of the victims. And I didn't catch it there, but I wonder if that's where I might have heard it there. I don't know. I really like Jules's channel, so um, I usually go to her or Lana when it comes to documents, or our buddy Lee out there in Seattle with his channel, um, the Devil's Advocates. Sorry, I forgot the name there for a second. So yeah, with Lee with Devil's Advocates, he's another one that's really good with the documents. So interesting. Yeah, I think Donna's point's a good one here. It's amazing that they could say all this stupid stuff and just get away with it. Yeah, I mean, could you imagine like you get a bunch of guys sitting around in a room. Well, I don't know if they're smoking weed or drinking or both. I don't know what's going on over there, but it's like, let's tell them that, you got to have blah, 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 or he did it this way, and then they're all going, there's no way they're going to believe that. Oh, I bet you, and they leak it out. And then sure enough, then everybody's talking about that. So you got to wonder. But Don, I think you're very right there. That's just really ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Let's see. Melissa says, why did they wait 6 weeks to bring this dangerous person in? The FBI framed him to catch him. Yeah, I mean, it does seem odd that you would let a suspect of a quadruple homicide drive across the country. That seems very strange, even if you were tailing him, because they lost the tail. They lost him for like, what was it, 6 hours or something like that? They finally picked him up again, but they lost him. Then they screwed up and went the wrong way because there was that big storm from the north. And the northern track would have been faster, but with that storm coming through there, that definitely made it a no-go. So Brian and his dad took the smarter route and took the southern route. And it was a big cluster about that with the tail. So just a lot of just dumb, not like Keystone Cops kind of shit. I mean, just totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. But yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, why would you leave this guy out there if he was really that dangerous? I think your point about could it have been the FBI that sent him? I don't know. I mean, somebody did, and they would be the most likely, at least have some involvement in that. But why? I don't know. Unless it was like some have suspected, like, could the guy have been an agent? And I mean, once he's in prison, I mean, you're never going to hear about him again if he doesn't want to be heard from again. So, I mean, what would be the possibility of them putting him in prison for a few days while they figure out where they're going to put him and then put him in witness protection and give him a new identity and let him go be working for the FBI under a different name somewhere completely different, a different country maybe, and get him out of there. I don't know. I mean, the thing is that anything is possible. I mean, at this point, some things that people said, oh, that's absurd. I remember catching all kinds of hell when I was saying right at the beginning, Dylan is guilty as all hell. Bethany's guilty. I think the two of them, allegedly, of course, could have been involved here, whether it be from the planning or the, just kind of being there to make sure everything went smoothly. I don't know, but there's some kind of shenanigans going on there because Dylan was lying to the cops the moment they got out of those cars, showing up that morning. Right out of the box, she was lying, saying that they'd been asleep, which we know they had been asleep. They were on every damn social media platform known to man, on top of a job search message or a app, which doesn't make any damn sense unless she was trying to find a job, in the middle of that, which doesn't make a bit of sense. Although you could message people through Indeed, so that could have been a way that they were messaging each other and trying to keep it away from prying eyes. I wondered that too, if people in their phones were really those people. So you put the name of you change the names in your phone, so when they're looking through your history, they confuses them of who's who. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. Isle of Shoals, good to see you. Good to see you as always. Thanks for coming in, and always some great fodder for the discussion. But this is good. The post sentencing presser with Darren Gilbertson and Brett Payne was the most embarrassing showing of all time. I would agree with you, man. I would agree with you. I mean, that is embarrassing is a good word. I think every person that wears a badge should look at that and just spit in their face. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous that they're just acting so aloof when it's so obvious they didn't have anything on the dude. I mean, I can't even believe they let them do the presser, knowing that they'd get carved up in there. I mean, they didn't have anything that they were supposed to have. They just did everything wrong. I mean, I interviewed a cop. I did a long form video on it, and we went through all this stuff, and he was just like, everything they did was off. The collection of the DNA from the sheath, they should have sent the whole sheath to the lab, not trying to extract it in the field because there was so little there. Lots of just things like that just didn't ring true with how cops operate. And it was very, very eye opening, I thought. And I've interviewed this guy many times. He's Australian, but was with the Australian Federal Police, which would be like our FBI. And he was, been on many, many murder cases and investigations and all that. And knows quite a bit about DNA and all of it. So it's good to have him on. I need to get him on again because he would be great. But yeah, so the thing about these cases is people get very, very fired up about it and agitated, and people take sides. I think it's fine to have a differing viewpoint of somebody else, but you should never get to the point where you up in someone's face or calling them stupid or whatever, because that's their choice. Just like bands, you might listen to a band that you love, and then I might listen to it and think it's crap, and I don't want to hear it. Well, that's the way it is. That's what earphones are for. So, you listen to what you want to listen to. And I think it's the same with all this stuff. But here's a question from Melissa. The DoorDash order, did she order it or was she already gone? I don't know. I would think she's gone. I think that the time frame or the timeline is off. I think the crimes happened more like 2 to 3, or at least over by before 4. I mean, there's that one white car that's peeling out, heading toward Pullman from that mobile gas station, the one on the edge of town. There's that shot there of that at 3:45, barreling out of town. They believe that could have been Demetrius's brother, allegedly, was driving that car. I believe that's the car that they found in Eugene, Oregon. Uh, was it 3 or 4 days later? They found it wrecked on the side of the road. I believe that was that car. That's just my gut reaction. But that car traced back to the owner was a woman in Colorado, and allegedly that woman had bought the car from her employer, who at the time was one of the two owners of 1122 King Road. So how strange of a connection is that? I mean, this case is full of that kind of stuff. But, the thing is, it's so hard to pull fact from fiction. You do your best. I mean, if I had a team of people helping me, maybe I could be better at being accurate, but you do the best that you can. It's just these cases get confusing, and a lot of them are so similar that you get confused. I know on the podcast we ran into that with so many episodes. I mean, how many bad childhoods, adolescent, in and out of juvie, going to prison at a young age stories can you cover? Because it seemed like every one of these guys, that's exactly what they were doing. Every once in a while, you have one with a good upbringing like BTK or something, but let's see. So she says, I think Lana is right. I heard her say the other day that if he saw Dylan, that she would have been dead. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know how you do what that, whoever that was that did that. I don't know how you do that and leave anybody alive in that house. Unless you knew that they were part of the plan and it was like a mutual destruction type thing where they were told, you don't call, give us an 8 hour. That's what I'm thinking. An 8 hour head start. Don't call till noon, and just say you were sleeping and you woke up and you were really drunk from the night before and you didn't hear a damn thing. And if you ever tell anybody the truth, this is going to happen to you. Have a nice day and leave. And that could definitely get somebody's attention. And that could be the reason why Bethany disappeared to Nevada, because she was scared shitless from this dude or these people. I don't know. But I agree. I don't think they would have been leaving people behind unless those people were part of the process. Meaning, if, let's just say, they said they were sleeping through the whole thing, that's going to draw a lot of questions. But it also gives you a potential witness to throw them off. What you say, you saw somebody jumping out the window and it was a little, short dude with a dark complexion, then they're not going to be looking for maybe the 6'2" guy, white dude that did it. So that's the thing, is you could throw them off with witnesses left behind. And maybe that's why Dylan did what she did, was because she was forced to, because that's what her role was, to be the witness. I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing things out there. I really don't know. It's really just wild. Yeah, here, Isle of Shoals, always. Hard to believe the killers wouldn't search the house before leaving. Yeah. I mean, I used to do, urban warfare training in the Army. And yeah, you're not leaving anything left unsearched, because you don't want somebody jumping out of a closet at you. I know when I used to work doing the inspection part of my job, used to do building inspections for buildings prior to demolition, and a lot of the buildings we went into were really bad. Real, just destroyed, messy, dirty, filthy, that kind of stuff. And you never wanted to have somebody come up on behind you, so you searched every room, closet, everything really thoroughly with good flashlights, because most of these places were dark because there was no power. So it's crazy. Let's see here. Let's see. Joke. How many thousands of hours have I spent on Idaho for? 3 years worth of 1,000 and 1,000 of hours. LOL. Yeah. I mean, it's it's nuts the amount of time that we've all spent on this stuff. Let's see here. Phil Biggs says if there's any accuracy to the story, he was leaving. He had already cleaned up, put away his tools. He didn't have time nor patience for Dylan. Now I don't believe any of it. So, yeah, I don't know what to believe anymore either, to be honest with you. And I haven't thought much about this case in the last few weeks. That's why when I heard some things that were interesting to me, I was happy at least so that I could talk to you guys because I know you guys are interested in this one. I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to do other content, but I'll do a video on this, about Jesse Butler, and I guarantee you I probably won't crack 1,000 views. But if I do something about Dylan and Bethany, I can get 20,000 views. So now I don't care. Now I don't care about the views because I don't use this for my income. I don't do this for that. Okay. Thankfully, I'm okay. So I'm not doing this for the money at all. I don't even care about it. So I'm only doing the stuff that interests me and interests you to a degree. Like if you guys all wanted to just do straight Idaho 4, I wouldn't be happy doing that, and I probably would just stop. But I like doing this, so I don't want to just stop. So I'm hoping we can kind of come up to an agreement that if you see a video of mine that you're not familiar with the topic, just give it a watch, check it out. It might be something that jumps out at you, like the Delphi case. Holy crap, guys. I mean, if you didn't follow the Delphi case, that's an interesting one. That's one that's just about, if not more so, confusing and crazy and weird coincidences than the Idaho 4. And there will be more to be said about Delphi because that guy is definitely not the right one that's in prison. And there's a big movement to get his case at least retried because he was screwed. So if that's one that you want to put a little time into, Delphi is really good for that. And I would be interested in talking about Delphi. But I think this case down in Oklahoma, I think it might have some legs there with this rich boy getting out of it. Especially the football star, right? The football star of the team or the baseball star of the team, being all privileged, So, all right. Isle of Shoals, dirty Delphi. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth. All right, I'm looking here. Melissa says, I think BK was running down the path he would have that night. He did leave his house in a car, parked it, and then ran. I've thought about that too. Actually, looked. There's a bunch of good maps on Google I found of the area and all the bike paths that surround Moscow and into Pullman. And there's a couple like straight paths because there's that stretch of road that connects the two, but there's bike paths you could take through there. And I remember doing the calculation because he was a good bike rider. I can't remember. It was like 20 minutes or something like that. I think I thought it would have taken for him, but I know it was cold. But still, if you're riding a bike, you're not going to be cold. You'd be cold when you got off it if you didn't dress right. But anyway, so I thought, wouldn't that make more sense? Then you could just park your bike somewhere in a bush and go walk to the crime scene and then leave and then hop back on the bike and just get out of there. Um, be a pretty low risk to situation to get caught because cops aren't going to be on the bike path at 2 in the morning. They might be during the day patrolling it, but I'm guessing not at that hour of the night. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see, Pete. I remember years ago you said that eventually you guys we are going to have a movie on from this. LOL. Remember, Pete? I'm not sure. Years ago, I guess technically that could be plural years because I started the channel December of 23. I don't remember talking about a movie, but I mean, if you're talking about a movie about the Idaho 4, I could see me saying something like that. Yeah, because it was made for a movie, made for a movie. The only problem is the people making these movies about it have such a bias against Koberger that it's hard to watch them. I'm not saying Koberger's completely innocent. I don't know. All I'm saying is, and I've said this from day one, he could have done it, but I don't think that he did. That doesn't mean I don't think he's guilty. I just don't think that he is. But show me some real proof, show me some legit evidence, not a skin cell on a sheath that I don't even know existed because I've never seen a damn picture of it. I mean, if you've got the goods, let's see them, but they don't, or they would show it, and that's the problem with them in this case. That's why so many of us get so frustrated, is because these guys are just so, you know, shady, so shifty, just terrible, terrible. Let's see. Let me look back here at the notes. If you haven't done so already, guys, if you haven't liked the video, please do that. And if you're watching this on a replay, thank you for doing that as well. And if you could leave a comment, that helps the video get out there to more people. And I've got a few things I want to put out here before we call it a day. The Serial Killer Story Hour, if you haven't seen that, you need to check it out. I do that on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central, just 1 hour. And we just pick a serial killer. Most of them have been random, obscure, not the common ones, not the Gacy's and the Dahmers and the Bundys and all that. We've been doing the more obscure ones. And last week we did Israel Keys, which was a good one. The next one we're going to do is the Philadelphia guy who liked to chain up women in his basement. Heidnik, Gary Heidnik. This dude is considered to be mostly the inspiration for Buffalo Bill in The Silence of the Lambs. I know they've been talking about Geen, and I'm not saying Geen didn't have some involvement in that, but most of it was Heidnik. Buried the women in the or had the women in the basement chained up, had a hole dug where they went down in the hole, and he shocked them and did all that. Very similar to Buffalo Bill. So you don't want to miss that. It should be a good one. And if you're not a subscriber, please think about doing that before you go. I've got some membership tiers on the channel if you're interested. Horns High Club is $1.99, and the Mayhem Squad is $2.99. And I appreciate those of you that are members already. I appreciate that very much. Every month they let us throw out 10 free memberships, 5 at a time. And so after Friday, the next live I do after that, I'll give away some memberships because there'll be some free ones I can give out to you. That's pretty cool that YouTube's been doing that for us. So let's see. Anything else you guys want to discuss? Oh, I wanted to show you the merch because I know not everybody has seen it. I know some of you have, but I know not all of you have. So let me pull that up here real quick. Got a lot of designs on here. The cool thing with T Public is I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's say you like just a classic Murder Metal Mayhem shirt. Okay, you click on that, and it shows it to you on its shirt. And I show it to you on black because that's how I think it should be. But you've got a whole bunch of colors to choose from. You can even make the thing tie dye if you want. Okay, so you can go crazy with it. All right. Then they got the male fit, female fit, different types of shirts, V neck. I know Donna bought a V neck of her shirt. She likes that. I get the classic one, but they got them all here, guys. Small to 5X, which is sweet. They don't really shrink. I don't think they do. So they're really good quality shirts. And right now, they got the sale going on, so you see it's only $16. Now, if you scroll down, you'll see other products they have with that same design on it. So let's say you want the hat, you click on the hat, you can get it as a dad hat, a baseball hat, or a trucker hat. So it's really cool. And it shows you what it'll look like. If you want the mug, you click on the mug, and then you go over here, travel mug. That's what I was talking about. And it'll show it to you as a travel mug. So you can see what it looks like. So it's a really cool thing. I think that it makes it much more user friendly. You can really do what you want with the colors and the sizes and all of that stuff. So if you're interested, I'll put the logo or I'll put the link up here on the screen. If anybody wants to go over there and buy some merch, whether it be for now or Christmas or what have you, but they send them out. They get them out within a week. I mean, it's crazy how fast you get the shirt. So fast shipping, good quality, very cool people. Let's say you buy a large and you try it on and it's too big. You can let them know and they'll just send you a different one. They'll send you a medium or whatever you want. So you don't have to even send the other one back. They just say, go, that's fine. They have 100% guarantee. Anything like that at all. Bought the wrong size, tried it on, it's too small, whatever, you can get it refunded. They'll make you another one. So, all right. If anybody's wanting to do any, tips or donations to the channel, you can do that with the stuff down below. Um, if you want to help for free, you can just like and subscribe, share it, do all that stuff, comment. All those things help and appreciate all of that stuff. So I really do. All right. Anybody have anything else before we go today? Oh, we got some gifted memberships here. Look at this. Let me get to that here real quick. All right, Phil Biggs, 123 gifted 5 Murder Metal Mayhem memberships. Thank you very much. That's super cool of you to do that for your fellow Murder Metal Mayhem friends. Very good. Congrats to the new members for sure. But all right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it a done deal, unless anybody has any last minute stuff. But I'll see you Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central, for the Serial Killer Story Hour. You'll see a thumbnail for that one. And I got some more videos coming out, and I got 2 more stories that'll be coming out this week as well. So you got a lot of content coming at you and getting you primed up for the Halloween season. See, that's where you got to read these spooky stories and get yourself fired up for Halloween. So, all right, guys. Well, I will let you guys go. And thank you for all the nice, kind words. I appreciate that very much. And I'll see you next time.
I've heard it all before. It's just the outro and I'm out of here. If you did, you wouldn't be loving this sick, weird groove. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment to help us get out to more. Smash that like and subscribe before you go. You must be some high achiever to watch this whole thing. Copyright 2025 by Horns Hot Productions.